the next one, we talked about estrogen. So let's go over Rachel's from Facebook. What foods are best for estrogen balance in the body?
Yeah. So when I think about estrogen balance, first thing I think about is balancing blood sugar, right? When your blood sugar's out of balance and you're getting insulin surges, insulin is going to provoke more estrogen in your system. So I think of that first, getting your blood sugar stable. We've already talked about that, and we have a lot of podcasts that have talked about that. That's super important. But then there's other things too that really help with the liver, because the liver is constantly detoxifying estrogens in our system. And these are estrogens that our body is making, as well as xenoestrogens or artificial estrogens that are coming in from our cosmetics, coming in from hormones that are in meat, like conventionally raised meat and dairy products and things like that. So, we want to support the liver. Obviously, we want to clean up the diet, clean up toxins in general, and then support the liver. So I always think about bitter is good for your liver, right? And so bitter herbs, ginger, we mentioned that earlier. Apple cider vinegar can be very supportive. Dandelion, cilantro, radishes. So anything that's got kind of a bitter flavor, parsley, right? These things are all very, very good for supporting liver function. Even coffee, right? Now with coffee, you want to make sure you're not getting conventional coffee, because that's loaded with pesticides that will damage your liver. But coffee is a bitter. And for some people, people that metabolize caffeine well, it can actually help support liver health, right? And you want to make sure, again, you're getting it organic, mycotoxin free, shade grown ideally. But that can be supportive. In fact, people will do coffee enemas, right? Taking it in the backside to help clean out the bile ducts, right? And help clean out any sort of sludge in your bile ducts and increase your liver glutathione levels. So that can be really, really helpful as well. And you got to get your bile flowing, right? And that's super key. So there are different compounds, bile salts that work really well. TUDCA is one that we use, choline, taurine. These are bile salts that help thin the bile and help move it through the system. And bile is what actually grabs up toxins like estrogens in our system and helps move it through our feces, right? It comes out through our stool. It helps grab that up, and it combines with fiber, right? And that's why fiber can be really, really important here as well.
Yes, yes. Cruciferous vegetables are one of my favorites for supporting estrogen metabolism, because we're really talking about, with estrogen balance, is trying to ensure that you're not estrogen dominant, that your estrogen's not too high in ratio to your progesterone. And so the Dutch test is a dried urine test that will show us how you metabolize estrogen. There's 3 phases of estrogen metabolism. The first phase is there's different pathways. So you want to be metabolizing more down the protective pathway versus the others. And we can test and see, and there's things you can do if you are metabolizing estrogen more down the harmful pathways. So good thing to look at. But cruciferous vegetables are really great for supporting that estrogen metabolism. So trying to make sure that it's being metabolized down that protective pathway. They also have sulforaphane, and that has, it's been found to have breast cancer protective properties and a lot of health benefits. So those foods would be like broccoli sprouts, kale, cauliflower, broccoli, and watercress, cabbage. All of those foods can help with that estrogen metabolism. We talked about fiber, which is really critical, like fruits, vegetables, nuts, and seeds. My favorite seed for estrogen metabolism is flaxseed. All of my female clients know this, because I was doing an article for Dr. Jockers on biblical nutrition, and one of the foods was flaxseed. And I came across this amazing review on the benefits of dietary flaxseed, and it cited hundreds of studies in the review, but it talked about the strategies, all the benefits of using flaxseed. And since then, I've been a big proponent, because one of those benefits was for breast health and estrogen metabolism. So you always want to buy whole flax seeds, store it in the refrigerator, grind it as you use it. I usually put it in my smoothie that I was talking about earlier. So those would be some of my favorite foods. Always make sure too, one thing I see a lot of women doing is drinking out of plastic bottles or using other endocrine disruptors. These are synthetic compounds, and they interfere with our endocrine system. So they can actually mimic estrogen in the body and contribute to excess estrogen. And that will
Yeah, for
actually
sure.
block the effect of true estrogen. So really important to avoid those things. And that's plastic bottles, food cans are lined with BPA, which is a estrogen mimicker, flame retardants, a lot of cosmetics. So just some other things to think about.
Yeah, super important. I recommend drinking out of glass or like a stainless steel. You're gonna have less of those xenoestrogens, or really none of them. Or mugs. A lot of times, mugs and things like that will work. But trying to do your best to avoid plastic, getting really good filtration on your water systems. That can be helpful. Dandelion tea, like I talked about, and growing your own sprouts is actually easier than you think. We actually have a little pod from, I believe it's ingarden.com. I could be wrong with that. We'll have to put a link in the show notes, but basically it's just like a little starter set. And they even have like a UV light that comes with it. So you can just put it on your windowsill, or you can put it in your kitchen, and you just get seeds and you put water in it. And then you turn on the light during the daytime, the little light that they have, and it just grows on its own. And then you just grab some, and you put it, there's watercress sprouts, there's radish sprouts, broccoli sprouts, kale sprouts, right? All these have sulforaphane, diindolylmethane, these powerful compounds that help move your estrogen down a healthier pathway. So very easy thing that you can add to a lot of your meals. So really good strategy there.
Yeah, awesome. And the gut also plays a huge role in estrogen metabolism. A lot of people don't know this, but there's a subset of the microbiome called the estrobolome. And the estrobolome are gut bacteria that modulate estrogen metabolism. So they affect whether estrogen is excreted from the body, like Dr. Jockers was talking about. We want this excess estrogen excreted, not recirculated. So it can modulate and affect whether that happens. So really important to support the gut microbiome. And there's a beta glucuronidase is an enzyme produced by the estrobolome. And going back to that stool test I was talking about earlier, we can test for beta glucuronidase. So if that's high, there's things like calcium D-glucarate you can take to reduce that. So the gut's so key for everything, so we always, everything kind of goes back to the gut. And that's why one of our main strategies when we're working with our clients is to heal the gut. And a lot of my clients will say, I don't have gut issues. But then when we're peeling back that onion, they do have gut issues. So just something else an interesting thing about estrogen and the microbiome.